The sky of West Texas has never been a place of subtle mysteries. It is a vast, brutally honest landscape, where geology brazenly exposes its secrets. However, in the driest summer recorded in 50 years, a geophysical anomaly detected by a National Aeronautics and Space Administration satellite in the remote Permian Basin refused to be categorized as a mineral vein or a gas deposit. Give it a like, subscribe, and share. Let's begin. The satellite, designed to monitor the movement of the Earth's crust, recorded a persistent and coherent electromagnetic signature emanating from an exact point in the Rocky Desert, 150 kilometers from Midland. The signature, a low-frequency wave pulsing with the precision of a clockwork metronome, did not match any known human infrastructure or any natural phenomenon, such as seismic activity or atmospheric ionization. Dr. Elias Vance, a theoretical physicist from the University of Texas at Austin with a background in the analysis of exotic materials, was sent to the site with a small team of geologists and technicians from Los Alamos National Laboratory. Vance expected to find a sensor error, or at most, a secret military artifact buried by the government. What he found defied all the laws of physics he had studied for 40 years. The object was located 6 meters beneath a layer of Permian period sediments. Not much excavation was necessary, as the radiation from the low-frequency wave had crystallized the surrounding quartz in a 10-meter radius, leaving a polished rock structure that acted as a natural protective dome. Upon penetrating the dome, the team found the object, which was not a tool, a vessel, or a rock. It was an organic, metallic structure, approximately 10 meters long and 4 meters high, embedded in the subsurface, with a shape that resembled a slightly flattened, seamless cylinder. Its surface was a dark gray color, with a matte finish, and a texture that felt both warm and smooth to the touch, like the skin of a large animal. Most disturbing was the absence of an entry or exit point, or any sign of assembly. The object was a single piece. The surface was completely devoid of markings or inscriptions, suggesting a technology of atomic-scale processing that made visible joins or control interfaces unnecessary. The object seemed to have been grown rather than manufactured. Dr. Vance ordered the total isolation of the site and the activation of Level 5 containment protocol, designating the object as the coin, due to its flattened shape and its mysterious value. 1. Materials analysis. 3 physical impossibilities and self-repair. The first step was the non-invasive analysis of the object's material, a task complicated by the electromagnetic interference that constantly decalibrated Vance's team's instruments. The impossible compound, the living metamaterial. Mass spectroscopy and nuclear magnetic resonance analysis yielded results that materials scientists at Los Alamos initially refused to believe. Component duality. The material consisted of a silicon and titanium alloy, metallic, that was molecularly intertwined with carbon and protein chains, organic. It was a metallic biological compound, or a living metamaterial. The crystalline structure of the metal actively grew and repaired itself. The protein matrix, identical to the keratin found in human skin, slowly regenerated, consuming trace elements from the surrounding soil through an ionic absorption process that was 100% efficient. The self-repair capability was demonstrated when an experimental laser caused a small ablation on the surface. The organic metallic tissue closed and regenerated the keratin crystal within minutes, with no apparent external energy input. Indeterminate age. The rhenium-osmium isotope dating method suggested an age of 440 million years, placing it in the Silurian period, long before mammals or birds existed. However, the protein component of the material appeared to be only 200 or 300 years old. The forced conclusion was that the object was not only ancient, but had been maintained or kept alive for eons. Zero density. The object's weight was the most terrifying physical impossibility. Despite its size and heavy metal composition, the object weighed exactly 0 kilograms, according to gravitational measurement. Dr. Elena Rojas, the geophysicist, theorized that the object was neutralizing gravity in its immediate field, or that it existed in a state of negative mass, a theoretical concept that violated general relativity and known particle physics. The object was somehow connected to the quantum vacuum, extracting or cancelling gravitational energy in a perfectly spherical radius, which explained the absence of pressure on the surrounding rock. The energy needed to sustain this gravitational annulment was colossal, implying that the object was, in fact, a perpetual energy source that rewrote the limits of thermodynamics. Dr. Vance informed the Pentagon and the White House with a single sentence: "We have found something that predates life on Earth and is a perpetual anti-gravity engine." 2. The pulsation and the encrypted message. The pulsating electromagnetic signature was the second focus of the investigation. The low-frequency wave, 7.8 Hz, was identical to the Schumann resonance, the fundamental resonance of the Earth ionosphere cavity, but it was artificially generated by the object. Resonance communication. Vance's team installed an advanced resonance spectrometer and began monitoring the pulsation. They discovered that the wave was not random. It was a sequence of encoded data transmitted in a universal mathematical language, the three-dimensional star map. The initial sequence decoded by Dr. Vance, based on patterns of prime numbers and fractal geometry, was a complete star map of the Milky Way, but with two fundamental differences from modern maps. First, the object identified stars by their hydrogen radio frequencies and not by their visible light. Second, the map projected the positions of the stars for a temporal point 150 million years in the future, suggesting that navigation or destination was based on long-term cosmic prediction. The precision of the projection far exceeded NASA's astrophysical models by several orders of magnitude, implying an understanding of gravitational and dark matter unreachable by human science. Give it a like, subscribe, and share. The biological catalogue. The second layer of the message was an exhaustive catalogue of life on Earth over the last 100 million years, with DNA records of species believed extinct or those yet to evolve. The biological catalogue not only recorded life, it projected the future evolution of life on the planet through a series of genetic diagrams and mutation sequences. The genetic data was so detailed that it included the protein resonance frequencies of each organism, which would allow for precise manipulation of any life form. The catalogue contained the complete genome of the human species, and next to it, a set of detailed mutations that, according to analysis, would lead humanity to a symbiotic state with technology within 300 generations. The coin was not a crashed ship. It was an archive, or a beacon of knowledge intentionally buried in Texas with astonishing temporal precision. Its function appeared to be to record and transmit the planet's biological history to a future, distant destination point. 3. The governmental reaction. The terror of pre-knowledge. The revelation of a 440 million-year-old object on American territory that recorded the future of life on Earth generated a crisis of national and epistemological security. The Department of Defense and the White House Office of Science and Technology took total control of Project Coin, the threat to the human narrative. The object violated the anthropic principle and the narrative of the discovery of civilization. If an unidentified entity knew life on Earth at such a deep genetic and chronological level and recorded the future, human free will and the singularity of consciousness were illusions. The object suggested that human history was a pre-programmed sequence, or at least predictable by a superior intelligence. The geopolitics of the biological catalogue. The biological catalogue was a genetic treasure trove containing the key to eradicating diseases, creating new species, and manipulating evolution. Government scientists understood that possession of this genetic catalogue granted unparalleled biological power over any nation or future disease. This elevated the object from the status of an archaeological artifact to a biological weapon of war and a tool of evolutionary control. The knowledge of the mutation sequences was so dangerous that the mere existence of the hard drive, where it was temporarily stored, became the most guarded asset on the planet. The final decision was the total suppression of the object's existence and the militarization of the knowledge it transmitted. 4. The opening, the silent contact. While the government debated the destruction or utilization of the object, Dr. Vance and Dr. Rojas continued their investigation, focusing on the 200-year-old organic protein component. They discovered that the protein layer acted as a communication interface. By applying a tuned Schumann frequency to the layer, the object reacted for the first time. The holographic projection. The object emitted a pulse of monochromatic light that projected a three-dimensional hologram onto the quartz wall. The hologram was not a creature or a being. It was a complex geometric shape that changed with perfect speed and symmetry. Dr. Rojas identified the pattern as a visual representation of the space-time fabric at the moment of the Big Bang and its fractal expansion. The projection lasted 11 minutes and was the only video event captured of the object, considered the most valuable record in the history of astrophysics. The final message, the terror of purpose. The hologram stabilized into a simple image, the representation of three structures identical to the coin buried on Earth. The pulsation accelerated and transmitted a final data sequence, the precise geographical locations of the other two identical objects, one in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, near the Mariana Trench, and the other under the polar ice of Antarctica. The final message was a simple flowchart illustrating that the three objects had to be activated simultaneously in an unknown future marked by a cosmic conjunction of 19 celestial bodies. Dr. Vance realized the true terror. The Texas object was not a mistake. It was one piece of a planetary system or a biological control architecture on a cosmic scale. The three objects acted as anchor points or transmitters of Earth's evolutionary history to an unknown receiving entity. 5. The cover-up and the legacy of fear. The activation and the revelation of the existence of two more objects at strategic points on the planet forced maximum containment by the government. The inverse burial. The decision was made to bury the Texas object again, recreating the quartz dome and sealing it with 200 tons of reinforced concrete. The site was catalogued as a toxic waste dump and closed perpetually, with the threat of lethal force against any intruder. The Geophone project. The US government, in collaboration with China and Russia, informed of the finding due to the need for cooperation in the Pacific and Antarctica, launched the Geophone project, a joint military and scientific operation to locate and dismantle or take control of the two remaining objects before the simultaneous activation could occur. Humanity had become the guardian and the prisoner of a 440 million-year-old technology. The ultimate goal of the project was to find a way to deactivate the coin and its analogs, or replace their transmission patterns with false data to protect Earth's biological and political autonomy. Dr. Elias Vance was retired from service and forced into silence. He became the only human with the terrifying certainty that life on Earth was neither a biological accident nor a divine intervention, but the product of a cosmic archive buried under the Texas desert, waiting for its moment to be transmitted to a future of predetermined destiny. The true threat was not invasion, but the revelation that human existence was merely a record on the hard drive of a galactic entity. Give it a like, subscribe, and share.